live.
Welcome and good evening. My name is Catherine Murphy, and I'm sitting in as moderator tonight for Laura Milner, who is the Voter Services Chair for the Kittitas County League of Women Voters. It is my pleasure tonight to welcome you on behalf of the League, as well as the Ellensburg Daily Record and the Northern Kittitas County Tribune, to the League of Women Voters Roslyn City Council seat number 6 candidates tonight. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the League's production and post-production crew, Charlie Sorensen, Karen Raymond, and Dolores Irwin, for making this event possible. The Kittitas County League, a nonprofit, has been in existence for over 50 years and has presented candidate forums to help educate county voters since 1980. We are a nonpartisan grassroots organization that never supports or opposes candidates or political parties. Our goal in hosting these events is to educate voters about the candidates and their positions as they stand for election, because informed voters do make a difference. The League of Women Voters records and retains a full unedited copy of all candidate forums. If any portion of the League forum is redistributed out of context to make a candidate appear to say something they did not say, or edited to make a candidate look bad in any way that they did not actually look at the original forum, then the League of Women Voters will alert the media, provide the unedited video for comparison, and file appropriate complaints with any applicable governing authority. For reasons of nonpartisanship, leagues do not hold what are called empty chair forums. However, in the rare event when a candidate who agreed to attend has a sudden emergency precluding their attendance, we offer to read a one-page statement on their behalf and proceed with the forum. Please know that candidates running for the Roslyn City Council positions 3 and 7 were also invited to tonight's event. For position 3, Jenny Arut withdrew from the race. In position 7, Ellie Bellu agreed to participate. Unfortunately, Nolan Weiss did not respond. Tonight's forum is with Janine Brodeen and Tom Missel, who are running for Roslyn City Council seat number 6. As we begin, I want to note that our ballots will be mailed on October 12th. Please call the auditor's office if you don't receive yours in a timely manner after October 12th. You still have time to register and change your address. You can do this online until October 25th and in person at the auditor's office by 8 p.m. on Tuesday, November 2nd. Your ballot must be postmarked on or before November 2nd. And so because post offices have varying closing times, mailing by October 26th is probably the best bet. Or there are 9 drop boxes throughout Kittitas County. If you're unsure where your drop box is, do check the auditor's office website for the complete list. In addition to this live stream event, the recording will be on the Kittitas League YouTube channel with links found at kittitasleague.org. We thank the following media partners for also sharing these forums: Ellensburg Daily Record and Northern Kittitas County Tribune. We have discussed the ground rules for the forum with the candidates prior to today's event. My job is to keep us on time and on task, which means that if a candidate goes past their time, I will move us along. The candidates have an opportunity to make a 2-minute opening statement. Then we will ask 6 prepared questions that we sourced from within the community. We provided these questions to the candidates a few hours ago, and they will have 60 to 90 seconds, depending on the question complexity, to respond to each one. Then we will move on to up to 3 audience questions, depending on time availability. The candidates will have 90 seconds to respond to each of these questions. The forum will finish with a 60-second closing statement by each candidate. Should an opponent wish to rebut the response, they must signal they wish to do so. Once recognized, they shall have 30 seconds. Only 1 rebuttal per question will be permitted. We'll rotate the candidate. The order of the questions are asked so that no one candidate must answer first. And if I make an error in this regard, please let me know. And If you're viewing this live, you can submit a question by texting to 509-654-9030. The questions must be for all candidates, both candidates. League members will review the questions and we may combine or edit them for clarity, nonpartisanship, and time limitations. Our general voters guide will go live on our website, kittitasleague.org, by October 12th. The guide will include links to candidates, websites, if they provide them, financial filings, completed candidate League of Women Voters questionnaires, and more. We urge you to check it out and share it with other voters. And at this point, we would like to welcome Tom Missel and Janine Rodin to this forum. Thank you both for taking the time to be with us, and thank you for your willingness to serve our community as Roslyn City Council member. As we discussed earlier, I will alternate who answers the questions first, and we're going to begin with opening statements, and we're going to begin with Mr. Missel. Did I say that correctly?
Missel, yes.
Missel, great. And you have 2 minutes for your opening statement.
Sure. Well, I'll start by introducing myself, and I'm Tom Missel, and I currently am the elected official for the position number 6 for the Roslyn City Council. I was appointed back in 2019, April of 2019, for an empty seat, and then won an election in November that year. And it has been a busy 2 years since then with the pandemic and everything else. I've become really involved with a number of committees and commissions. Roslyn Lodging Tax Committee, the Consolidated Lodging Tax Committee for the Kittitas County. For the last year and a half with the pandemic, I've been with the Kittitas Community Recovery Coordination Group. I also serve on the Conference of Governments for Kittitas County. I'm the liaison with the Historical and Planning Commission for the council. And then my newest project is we're trying to get the Community Recreation Center built in Upper County. I'm on the board of directors for the nonprofit that's managing that project, as well as the project committee itself, in addition to the communications committee. I have not missed a single meeting I've been asked to attend since being appointed and then elected. And I think that's important. You need to be present to help the city. In addition to that, I've forged really strong relationships with the surrounding communities, mayors and council members, as well as the 3 county commissioners, which has allowed me to reach out and get a $20,000 grant from the county for the restoration of the sidewalk in front of Base Camp Folks and Bites here in town, the glass panels. Also working to get another $200,000 for the CIP project known as the Penn Place Bottleneck Project with our stormwater. That's me.
You have, Ms. Brodeen, you have 2 minutes to make your opening statement.
Thank you, Catherine. Janine Brodeen. I have lived in Roslyn for 16 years. I live in a house that my in-laws bought in 1978. So while not a local, had a long connection with the town for the last 30 years during my marriage to my husband. I'm committed to this community. I served on the Roslyn Planning and Historic Preservation Commission for 14 years, 10 as chair. I left about a year and a half ago. I'm ready to get back into city government type work. While on the commission, I led the revision of Roslyn architectural design codes, as well as codes relating to subdivisions, livestock, lighting, critical areas, and vacation rentals. I serve on the Roslyn Farmers Market Board. When the Sunday market closed about 10 years ago, we gathered community people together and said, hey, do you guys still want to market? The community wanted a market, so we started the Roslyn Farmers Market, which is associated with the Washington State Farmers Market. That's been going for 10 years. I'm on that board now. We've unfortunately had to cancel the last 2 years for safety precautions. I'm on the Our Town Community Board and have many, many roles there. One of them is I've chaired the Roslyn Art Festivals and Art Walks for 10 years. Before I became involved in Roslyn politics, I was a professional educator in Seattle for 30 years, taught in Seattle schools, worked at the University of Washington, ran a teacher ed program there, taught with many community colleges and worked with a lot of educational service districts. I've run a number of grants up to $250,000 for teacher ed. And I am a parent of 4 girls and 1 granddaughter, and they love Roslyn and plan to be coming here the rest of their lives too. So thank you for this opportunity. Catherine, you're muted.
Shoot. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's try this again. Let's go to question 1. What is your vision for Roslyn for the next 10 and 20 years? Ms. Brodeen, you have 60 seconds.
So when I chaired the commission, we always talked, not always, but looked at the next 20 years of the city, because we want to have the long range view, and I would do that as a counselor as well. My vision is to maintain historical integrity, which is critical to us, economic vitality, and have a robust infrastructure. All those things have to work together, and it's very difficult. In 2007, Roslyn was voted, if you call it voted, a most endangered property as a historic property. So I think we have to be really wary of that. We're still endangered, especially with a lot of development around us. A very important thing that I just want to throw in here in my last 15 seconds is to maintain our 120-year-old water system. It's kind of symbolic of who we are. I advocate for long-range planning in a whole lot of issues, including parking. Thank you.
Thank you. The question again is, what is your vision for Roslyn for the next 10 and 20 years? Mr. Missel, you have 60 seconds.
Thank you. I agree with a lot of what Jean has talked about. We need to maintain the historical nature of Roslyn. That's what makes Roslyn Roslyn. But to do that, we need to control the growth, which has been going crazy here just in the last 3 years. And then most importantly, bring our infrastructure up to date. And we do have a very special and unique water system here. So that will be dealing with replacing the transmission line, as well as fixing our outdated storm sewer projects, which need to be brought up to date as well too. So control the growth, and then infrastructure is a big issue going forward the next 10 to 20 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Our second question is, how would you describe the economy of Roslyn, and what would you advocate to increase the vitality of the Roslyn economy? And we're going to start with Mr. Missel, and you have 60 seconds.
Sure. I think we need to capital. Well, first of all, the economy of Roslyn right now, believe it or not, is basically tourism based for a large percentage of it. But I think we need to capitalize on local merchants for the needs of our current residents, as well as the tourists that come to town. You can't get food after 9 o'clock in Roslyn, and that's unfortunate sometimes. I think trade schools also need to be brought back into the school system here. It is hard to get somebody to work on your home or different projects in town because they're so in demand, and I think that needs to be brought back into the school system as well. And lastly, a lot of second homeowners that lived in Roslyn, had their second homes here, moved here during the pandemic and made this their primary residence. And because they've done that, we need to include them and bring them into helping us maintain what we have going forward.
Thank you. The question is again, how would you describe the economy of Roslyn, and what would you advocate to increase the vitality of the Roslyn economy? Ms. Brodeen, you have 60 seconds.
I agree with Tom on a number of issues as well. Our economy is primarily tourism, and that's been the case for a long time. I would advocate for really supporting our local businesses in many ways as we could to serve not just the tourists, but also serve us. One thing that I would, one project I had part in was actually developing a commercial overlay zone along 903 so that properties along 903 could have businesses in their homes as long as the homes looked historic. And I think that project needs some more work. It hasn't really been taken advantage of, so I would be really interested in trying to kind of develop more home businesses along 903. You can also have a home business in your home as long as you live there. And so I guess I'm advocating for cottage industries. We have a lot of creative people in town. I think we should have them help themselves and also help us by bringing their services to the whole group. Thanks.
Thank you. Now we're going to move to question 3. How would you describe Roslyn's efforts toward being a welcoming town for all peoples? Ms. Brodeen, you're going to start this round and you have 60 seconds.
All right. Well, during the farmers markets, when we had them, we did surveys to see who came to town, and we would average between 2,500 people on a regular Sunday up to 5,000 people on a holiday Sunday. And that to me indicates how welcoming it is to people who come out of town. It's a lot of people. I think we also have to look at our rich historic background with our the different ethnic groups that came and actually made this town. It's kind of subtle, but I think there's a welcoming culture that people don't see because it doesn't have a really clear ethnic, physical ethnic differentiation. So I think we're really actually pretty welcoming for all peoples. And I can't think of anything new we could do besides be the town we are and welcome people with a smile.
Thank you. The question is, how would you describe Roslyn's efforts towards being a welcoming town for all peoples? And Mr. Missel, you have 60 seconds.
I would agree with a lot of what Janina said as well, too. I would use myself as an example. I moved over here permanently in 2016. I was appointed to the city council in April of 2019. I've met lots of business owners in town. I've helped them with projects. They've helped me become acclimated to town. Everybody I've met, including Janine, I met through the farmers market, was very welcoming, and I try to do the same for everybody in town, whether they're just here for the weekend or they're thinking about moving here or live in a surrounding community. So I think that the town has done a really good job of being a welcoming group for everybody. And I think the cemetery and all the work we've done up there has been a good draw for those people to come back to their roots as well, too. So I think we've done a good job even through the pandemic. So thank you.
Thank you. Question number 4. What is the most pressing fiscal issue confronting the City Council? Mr. Missel, we begin with you and you have 60 seconds.
Well, in a nutshell, I can put it as infrastructure. We've got an aging water transmission line that needs to be replaced, and lots of work has been accomplished in the last 2.5, 3 years on that, and even before I became on City Council. The other thing we have to work on is with the infrastructure would be the stormwater issue, and currently the Penn Place bottleneck is set to be hopefully finished this next year. We've got the rest of the grant money we need. So hopefully with the presentation to Conference of Governments by our engineer, we will secure the final 200,000 and we will move that project forward, which will be a big improvement for stormwater issues in Roslyn. So, and to continue to do that forward with our Conference of Governments money. So thank you very much.
Thank you. The question is, what is the most pressing fiscal issue confronting the City Council? Ms. Brodeen, you have 60 seconds.
Thank you. Well, Tom is much more aware of the issues the council is dealing with as far as infrastructure. I'm not as privy to some of those projects, although I'm aware of them. I kind of took another take. I think fiscally our town, affordable housing is huge because, in the year 2000, you could buy a house for $60,000. And now if you can get one for $300,000, you're really lucky and you need a lot of work on there. So that's a huge thing. I think when the commission actually developed the accessory dwelling accessory dwelling code, which I wrote after 2 community meetings, I think that really helps with that whole problem. Roslyn, in its heyday, had 4,000 people, and we have about 1,000. We have lots of room for infill if we want to do that, and appreciate that. I know I have background noise. I have a cat in a bag. I'm going to do that. Sorry.
Thank you.
Here you go.
We're going to wait for a second for the cat to get out of the bed.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's one of the advantages or disadvantages of Zoom.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to be at question number 5. Has Roslyn done enough to prepare its citizens for catastrophic wildfire? And what do you think needs to be done? Ms. Brodeen, this is your beginning, and
Okay.
you have 90 seconds to answer this
Oh, I have
question.
90 seconds. Wow. Okay. As people up here know, we've been doing prescribed burns, and that's a huge thing to prevent wildfires, to control the undergrowth underneath some of our trees. You know, we're 60% park or forest, and so Roslyn has the unique and not happy distinction of being one of the most endangered towns in the event of forest fire. So I think our fire personnel and our community personnel, who are our neighboring fire personnel, who really on top of it. I mean, I want them to continue exactly what they're doing. What I would like to see happen, just something I hear from community people, if there could be a dedicated website with information about routes out of town in the event of a fire. I mean, we get that information when there is a fire. We had one in 2017, but I think some information ahead of time would be great. The number 4 mine property that's run by Forterra, part of that plan is to actually add A Street, or increase A Street's access to town, and that will really help, because right now in the event of a fire we really just have like 2 routes out of town, excluding Sancadia, which also is another route. So informing the people, maintaining the health of the forest like our fire personnel are doing, if we keep that up, I think we're in pretty good shape, but we have to be vigilant. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. The question again is, has Roslyn done enough to prepare its citizens for catastrophic wildfire? And what do you think needs to be done? Mr. Missel, you have 90 seconds.
Sure, thank you. Again, agree with a lot of Janine's comments on the same question. I will say that, have we done enough? The only time we're going to know if we've really done enough is if we survive one of these catastrophic situations, which we hope will never, ever happen. I think we've made huge strides in fire preparedness and wildfire issues. We have a very, very good fire department doing a great job. It was nice to see that we're firewising now in the alleys and around town before we have any kind of a fire issue. The prescribed burns are a necessary part of what we're dealing with. I think the thinning of the forest was another part of that process too, to make sure we have a healthy, thriving forest. The exit road out of town is a big issue as well too. And with the number 4 mine site, the Forterra project, that project will hopefully be completed here very soon. And then in addition, I think the city did a nice job, the citizens did, in the fact that they approved the levy for the new fire engine that we needed. So that should be, last I heard, it should be in sometime by the end of the month. So we're excited about that too. So everybody's concerned about it. Everybody's trying their best. But being landlocked is a difficult issue. So we have to be really, really aware of what's going on. And I think the community as a whole is. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Question number 6. Roslyn is an interesting intersection between Cle Elum and Ronald, with that entire region growing. What is your perspective on growth management and in cooperating to manage growth with your neighboring towns? Mr. Missel, you have 90 seconds to respond.
Thank you. This is something I've been working on since I was appointed. I have the luxury of being on a number of committees and commissions where I work with the mayors of the surrounding towns and council members from the surrounding towns, as well as the county commissioners. I've taken a big interest in 47 Degrees North, the Sun Communities Development Project. I spent 2.5 hours at their open house with Rhonda Holden from the hospital, Jeff Adams, another council member, Tom Uren, another council member, as well as Mark Garker from the Planning and Historical Commission, and Ken Blanford from the CAC. And we had the executive committee for 2.5 hours to talk about our concerns about infrastructure issues, what kind of a demand this would place on from the schools, the hospital situation, urgent care, roads, just overall demand. And I encourage them to spend some serious time in Upper County, including Roslyn, to see exactly what we deal with on like a Thursday through a Sunday, Monday, and what the traffic's like on I-90 leaving here on a weekend, a Sunday or a Monday, especially on a holiday weekend, to see what they're in for. They were, and in working with Mayor McGowan on a number of committees, he understands that as well. So I think we're all going to end up working together with this, and hopefully we can control the growth a little bit together. Thank you.
Thank you. The question is, Roslyn is an interesting intersection between Cle Elum and Ronald, with that entire region growing. What is your perspective on growth management and in cooperating to manage growth with your neighboring towns? Ms. Brodeen, you have 90 seconds.
Thank you, Catherine. This is a huge question, and the 47 Degree North project just brings it right into our faces all the time. That property, if you're not aware of it, could bring in as many as 3,000 additional people in housing and in RV units. That would double Roslyn and Cle Elum's population. As Tom says, our infrastructure can't handle that. There doesn't seem to be a clear plan with that project. We're lucky that we have some citizen advocates who have really taken the lead in both Cle Elum and Roslyn and informed us and been studying this for, I think, a period of a year or more. So we share a lot of concern about that particular development. Roslyn is unique in that we have this footprint that we've had for 120 years. And as we talk about growth, I just think that needs to be part of the conversation. Even when we had 4,000 people, it was the same footprint. It's part of our historic designation. So I just want that to be something that we kind of keep in our thoughts. As far as cooperating, I think it's great to have the entities cooperate, but I want to see more citizen involvement. I'd like to see some citizen forums about this issue because there are people with very different perspectives in town. There are people who would really like growth. I have people say, hey, we should look like Issaquah. I have people say, hey, no more houses. So I think community input, whether we agree or disagree and listen respectfully, is really important too. Thanks.
Thank you. We have been collecting audience questions. I want to remind you that we only have time for 3 questions, and I'm speaking right now to the audience. Our volunteers may have combined or reworded the questions to maintain nonpartisanship or for clarity. If we do not get to your question, remember, you can always reach out to the candidates via email and ask them directly. So we're going to go to the first question, and I will read the question twice at the beginning, so both of you hear it clearly, and then I'll repeat it again for the second person, and we're going to start with Ms. Brodeen on this round. The question is this: many city residents are frustrated by the slow, complicated, opaque building permit process. What solutions would you, as a city council member, promote to streamline this burdensome process? And the question again is, many city residents are frustrated by the slow, complicated, opaque building permit process. What solutions would you, as a city council member, promote to streamline this burdensome process? You have 90 seconds.
We have unprecedented growth of new structures in the last 5 years. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but you can see them in town. And I know that I have heard the frustration that's being expressed by this citizen as well. It takes a long time. I know that the city is considering new software that could really help with the communication between the different entities involved in the process. I don't know if that's been purchased, but I would hope that some money could go into that. I think that would help the staff. The staff has an impossible job. You know, I was on the planning commission. I wasn't like privy to the permit process, but I was certainly aware of citizens' frustration over a period of years. So this isn't a new issue. It's just getting more and more intense. And the staff it's an impossible job to really please everybody. In the past, we've had volunteers on the commission kind of help more with reviews. And again, I think more citizen involvement could help with this. There are people who want to help and can help and have some background. Maybe not with the exact permitting process, but some of the other steps involved in development. I'm really interested in learning more details about this. And I really appreciate our city staff for doing as much as they can and so thanks.
Thank you. And the question again is, many city residents are frustrated by the slow, complicated, opaque building permit process. What solutions would you, as a city council member, do to promote and streamline this burdensome process? And Mr. Missile, you have 90 seconds.
Okay, thank you. Going back to something Janine said, we did purchase the software on the permitting process, and it is getting close to being up and running now, which should be a huge help in the process. It is a burdensome process because of the historical nature of our city and some of our codes. And then on top of it, you throw a pandemic in there, which was a curveball that going online with all of our meetings and having to produce documents online and get ready for these. I experienced tonight with this, it's not always the easiest process to deal with. So we do need to find in our next budget more funding for office support staff, because everybody wears multiple hats in the office, and they have done a tremendous job over the last year and a half. Everybody is experiencing the same growth. We're not much different than the city of Ellensburg as far as the quantity and the complaints. They come together. So hopefully we'll find some room in our budget to get some more help for the staff, which will get our planner back to doing the planning portion of it and dealing with the permit process on a more timely manner. Our engineer has helped quite a bit with the process, but they are unique lots that are being built on right now, and that makes the situation a little bit more difficult. But it's not an excuse. We need to do a better job. We need to be better with customer service. They're just inundated. We just need more staff. We're gonna have to find a way to fund that in this next budget we're working on right now. Thank you.
Thank you. So the next question is, how can the City Council help retain businesses in Roslyn, especially during this pandemic? How can the City Council help retain businesses in Roslyn, especially during this pandemic? Mr. Missel, you begin, and you have 90 seconds.
Thank you. This goes to a committee I was asked to join, which was the Kittitas Community Recovery Coordination Group. It was members from all over the county, from the hospital to the public health department, just everybody involved, mostly a lot of elected officials. But how could we help in this period of time? I remember as we started going back to this reopening portion this last spring, I was out on a Friday afternoon. I found out that the Chamber of Commerce in Cle Elum was offering free PPE supplies to all the businesses, so they didn't have to spend the extra money to do it. We found some grants that we got in front of businesses to keep them in. And believe me, I ordered enough takeout food to feed myself and my girlfriend really well to support these businesses. And it was important because they have a big stake here. And I think we did a pretty good job retaining businesses. I think we haven't lost any in the city of Roslyn to my knowledge. And I've worked with most of them. And I really thank the Chamber of Commerce and this group I worked with as far as getting the word out to the different people that how they could save some money, stay open, and follow the mandates by the governor. And I think we did a good job getting that information out. We're still meeting twice a month. It's not every Friday now, it's twice a month, but lots of good resources there for helping businesses in our community. So thank you.
Thank you. And the question was, how can the City Council help retain businesses in Roslyn, especially during this pandemic? Ms. Brodeen, you have 90 seconds.
Well, I think we send Tom and Rhonda out to buy some more takeout food, and that will help a lot. And I'll feed my family, but not just to be a little bit facetious. I think we have been pretty lucky in saving and retaining businesses. We've lost a couple. I mean, for different reasons. We don't have the Roslyn Theater right now. We lost the Cole, the barbershop, Fabian's Barbershop. And I know some businesses have struggled. But I think we've been pretty lucky as far as that goes, especially considering the number of tourists that have continued to come to town through the pandemic. It's a health and safety issue to me. I kind of wish we had, how to say this, a stronger, more consistent approach to masking and that kind of thing. I think there's a lot of differing. I mean, the whole country differs on it, but it'd be nice if the City Council could kind of help the businesses come up with a really common, consistent policy for the health and safety of getting out of this pandemic with all of us being alive and healthy. It's a good question. I'm going to think about this one because I think there's more I could say, but it's such a deep question that I can't come up with anything else right now.
Thank you. And we're going to move to closing statements because we did start late due to a technical glitch. And so, Mr. Missel, you're going to be up first for a closing statement, and you have 60 seconds to do that.
Sure. I want to start by thanking the League of Women Voters for this opportunity tonight. I think it's good for both of us, both myself and Janine, the Daily Record, as well as the Tribune. I think it's a valuable service. It's an important time for Roslyn right now, managing growth, infrastructure issues, the number 4 mine site, making sure we don't lose our historic downtown in the process. I'm here every day. I've only been out of Roslyn since moving here 2 nights since I moved here almost 5 years ago. I love it here that much. I encourage people to reach out with questions. If this wasn't the right format to get your question answered, I'm doing Talk with Tom tomorrow in the Roslyn Yard outside, so it's a little safer. And the following Wednesday, I'll do it outside the Village Pizza on Pennsylvania as well too. And then I've got one down at Runzie Field in the gazebo. So I'm trying to get more outdoor events so we stay as healthy as we possibly can, because the pandemic, I want it over as much as everybody else does. I want us to get back to normal. I want the farmers market back. I want all of our events back that make Roslyn a special place. So if you have questions, you can go to my Facebook page, Retain Tom Missile. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Great, thank you. Ms. Brodeen, you have 60 seconds.
Okay, thank you as well. I want to mimic Tom's, I guess mimic Tom's thank yous. This is a great opportunity to get some of my thoughts together on some of these very important topics. I'm committed to this community. I've been here for many years. I'm staying for many years. I think my background in historic preservation and development and codes and grant writing and just my general ability to communicate and collaborate would be a real asset to the council. It's not saying that Tom doesn't have those skills, but I would really like this opportunity. I'm ready to jump back into the city business. I have lots of time. I have lots of desire. I have lots of commitment. I believe that we just need to keep a balance between economic vitality, historic preservation, and a really strong infrastructure. And I think we don't disagree on that at all. But I just think we have to keep that in the conversation. Economic vitality is, we talk about historic preservation, sometimes gets tossed aside. So that's one of my priorities. Thanks again.
I would like to thank Tom Missile and Janine Brodeen for sharing their views and their willingness to serve on the Roslyn City Council. We want to thank our co-sponsors, the Ellensburg Daily Record and the North Kittitas County Tribune newspapers, for sharing the information about these forums and these forum videos throughout the voting season. Finally, thank you to the many league volunteers who make these events possible. To get more information about all candidates running in the 2021 general election, the Kittitas League has created a nonpartisan online voters guide where you will find links to candidate websites and other helpful resources. This guide will be live by October 12th when the ballots drop. You can also get information at vote411.org and at the Washington State Secretary of State's office. Remember to vote for the candidates that best represent your views. Every vote counts. Your vote does matter. Join me by casting